Following episode 132, we got a special preview meant to tease and hype up the upcoming final battle. However, the most shocking, interesting, and thought-provoking part of said preview actually has nothing to do with the final battle. At least, I don't think it does. There's this brief moment where Captain Pikachu apparently melts and the resulting blob turns into what is almost certainly a Ditto. This is followed by a message that new information will be revealed on April 17. Again, this caught my attention more than the rest of the preview because it doesn't appear to be connected to the final battle in any way, shape, or form. Instead, this is almost certainly them teasing what's coming after the final battle, which is to say, of course, what comes next for Pokémon Horizons. Now, obviously, currently, a Ditto can only really mean one thing, right? Pokémon Pokopia, which was released just a few weeks ago to massive success and critical acclaim, garnering much praise and popularity. Therefore, it's safe to say that the future of Pokémon Horizons, at least its immediate future following the end of the final battle, will be based on Pokopia. I guess Liko and friends might build a town or something? Perhaps they stop the explorers and vanquish Lakuium for good, but not without paying a steep price in the form of some serious damage to the environment of Laqua and or nearby areas, severely affecting the ecosystem to the point that life becomes unsustainable, forcing Pokemon and even humans to leave their home, which makes Liko and friends take it upon themselves to restore the now desolate land, allowing its former inhabitants to return and live like they used to. I'm obviously speculating here based on what Pokopia is about, but it does sound quite feasible, especially since we know Lakuium is the reason why Laqua is so bountiful. Without it, Laqua could go from paradise to hellscape. So that's what the future holds for Horizons. So case closed, right? Well, not quite. See, I've always wondered about the future of Horizons long term, because in my eyes, there are two ways it can unfold. They either embrace Ash's legacy, or they fully embrace the massive leap they took by retiring him. The former means that they keep Liko and the current cast at the forefront of the anime going forward. Just like Ash carried the series across multiple regions, multiple generations, and multiple storylines, they could do the same thing with Liko and company. Basically, Horizons would continue mostly as it is now. They would simply just move on from Lakuium, Lucius, the Explorers, Laqua, the Six Heroes, and everything else tied to what Horizons has been mostly about since it began, and shift into something new, aka Pokopia. A new villain, a new objective, a new mystery, a new storyline. Something that pushes Liko and friends forward into a brand new phase of their journey. So the anime would essentially go back to doing what it did in the pre-Horizons era. Highlight and showcase the newest game or games in the franchise, Pokopia now, and Winds and Waves in about a year's time, by having the existing protagonist and main characters experience everything or most of what said new games have to offer. So basically, same characters, new adventure. The latter option, on the other hand, means saying goodbye to Liko and friends, just like we said goodbye to Ash. One of the biggest criticisms of the previous anime, one I didn't agree with, mind you, was that they kept Ash for too long. He was around for so long that he became inseparable from the anime. He wasn't just the protagonist, he was the Pokemon anime, much to the frustration of many people who wanted him to be replaced. So the team behind the anime essentially trapped themselves. There was no easy way to move on from him without it feeling like a massive loss, especially for those that did want him to stick around, meaning that the team behind the anime had no choice but to stick with him year after year, generation after generation, series after series. Which is part of the reason why the poor guy never even got to age, something his successors got to do after just 89 episodes. When they finally made the decision to have Ash step down, it was a huge risk, a serious gamble, because surely they knew that they were going to alienate a big part of the audience, who, last I checked, refuses to watch a Pokemon anime without Ash. For them, the end of his journey meant the end of the Pokemon anime. The people behind the anime definitely knew what they were getting themselves into, but they did it anyway. So the question now is, do they really want to fall into the same trap again? If they keep Liko and the current cast for years and years, eventually they're going to become just as deeply tied to the identity of the anime as Ash was. They will become the face of it, and at that point, removing them will become just as difficult, which means that they might just decide to double down on the massive leap they took by getting rid of Ash. Instead of repeating the same cycle, they establish a new format entirely, one where each series has its own cast, its own story, and its own beginning and end. Just like we've seen with the anime adaptations of franchises like Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Precure, which all share several similarities with Pokemon. They all have several anime series that have the same core identity, themes, topics, mechanics, tropes, etc. as one another, but with different protagonists, different characters in general, different setting, universe, timeline, continuity, and core concept or motif. Like how Precure, for example, has a series focused on food, another focused on animals, one focused on idols, etc. If this is the direction they take, then we aren't just approaching the end of an arc, we are approaching the end of Liko and the entire current cast. Now personally, I prefer the first option, not just because I like these characters, but also because it still feels like there's so much more they need to see, do, experience, etc. Horizons is getting close to the episode range of 140 to 150, where its 4 immediate predecessors ended, meaning that you could say we are approaching the natural point to end it. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's time for it to end. Liko and Roy only have 4 Pokemon, while Dot only has 3. Are we really going to end their run as main characters when they don't even have full teams? Like 130 plus episodes in, Ash had enough for at least 2 full teams if you exclude the Pokemon he had released or left in training by this point. This alone makes it feel like there's still so much left for Liko and friends to do. More to catch, more to live through, more to grow into. It would feel like cutting their story short before it fully reaches its potential. And beyond this, there's also the emotional side of it. If they keep resetting the cast with each new series, then yes, we lose that long-term attachment. It's easier for us to let go. Liko and friends are not at Ash's level in terms of legacy, audience attachment, influence, etc. yet, so it wouldn't be as difficult to say goodbye to them. This is arguably a good thing, right? Not to say that it wouldn't be sad anyways, of course, because there is still a connection here. After all, we've spent over 100 episodes with them. We've seen their journey so far, their growth, their struggles, enough to get at least slightly attached to them. However, the trade-off is that they and future characters will never reach Ash's level. They will never be as iconic and larger than life as him. So instead of one defining protagonist, we get a lineup, a whole generation of different leads, each remembered for their own series, but none of them becoming an icon and the face of the anime. But you also avoid ever getting stuck again. You avoid tying the identity of the anime to one character for decades. And every new series becomes a fresh start, a new opportunity to meet new characters and connect with them. So it really comes down to this. Do they want one long-running legacy again, or do they want constant reinvention? Right now, I would say it could go either way. And until April 17, we're not going to know for sure. What we do know for sure is that whatever comes next is going to be a major turning point for Pokémon Horizons. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Again, this is a topic I've been curious about for a while now, ever since Horizons began in fact. Hence why this isn't the first time I talk about this in a video, and it probably won't be the last time I do so. Since it very much feels like we are at a crossroads right now, this really feels like the perfect time to revisit this discussion. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.